So I just want to get back to that conversation about this AI boom that's happening in the general market. Let's watch a video talking about comparing AI, this AI boom that we're seeing now, with the
Mhm.
dot-com boom, and see if you think that there's some difference between what's happening then and what's happening now.
Are at all-time highs, and those stocks in turn have driven the S&P. The seven biggest tech stocks are responsible for functionally all of the S&P stock gains in 2023. So if this feels like a moment of gigantic hype, you wouldn't be mistaken. But so was 1999.
You remember when we'd go to cocktail parties in 1999 and 2000, and everybody and his brother, mother, sister, uncle, cousin would be asking you how to get in on this.
I will never forget going to a Chinese restaurant in Asheboro, North Carolina, and the waiter asking me about CMGI.
But if you take a look at the numbers, this moment of AI mania has nothing on the dot-com bubble. And based on the earnings and revenue figures on Wall Street, those stocks may actually be historically cheap still. One investment research firm recently wrote, "We estimate that all of the gains in the S&P 500 this year can be attributed to AI." NVIDIA has more.
I'll pause it there. Ooh, so Yasher, you look like you're very young. You probably have no idea what the dot-com boom was, right? Nothing.
No, I was very little. I think I vicariously lived through it with my dad, who was really into computing and computers and got me into that sort of stuff. But yes, I don't remember the big boom and bust of the stock market as much.
Of course, I am. I lived through it. I invested through it. I actually moved from Canada to the US because of the dot-com boom. I got hired by a company called Medibuy, which is a healthcare supply chain e-commerce site that they were going to revolutionize. All hospitals would purchase everything. And you can imagine it's like a mini city. They buy food, they buy beds, they buy MRI machines, they buy drugs through our software. And it would connect all the suppliers through this electronically. We got funded by WIT, Sequoia Capital, Kleiner Perkins, $250 million of funding. It was a dot-com boom. And then a month later, 2 months later, the crash happened and everybody had to go back home. And so this was an exuberance in the market for the internet about to change the world. Amazon was formed in 1995. They started showing in 1999 that they were really something. And at 2000, the world woke up and realized that this website thing was real. It can revolutionize businesses. And you got pet.com, the famous, are you familiar? Pet.com crashed because you can't send 25-pound food. Now you can, but at that time you couldn't deliver that cost effectively. But so we are seeing an AI boom now. What do you think? How do they two compare? Is this going to be like one of those thing that happens? Everybody get excited, they all throw into it. Right now it's just top 7 companies that are being thrown money at, but you can see that this is now expanding to everybody saying, "Hey, I'm an AI company." What do you think's happening?
I think I would also throw into that the kind of blockchain crypto-esque bubble that we kind of saw in 2017 as well. Probably even before that for the crypto truthers out there. But I think this is different. And I think like the dot-com bubble, you're probably going to have a lot of fluff built into this with companies that just call their general processing AI or their machine learning. And really it's not a lot. But I think at the end of the day, that's just the kind of the fat around the edges, but there's still a lot of meat on this bone. And I think the key way I look at AI being actually fundamentally positive and actually not just being fluff or hype is that we actually see it changing the way that we live today and our productivity today. With something like blockchain, it was very theoretical. I still believe in the blockchain. I still believe in crypto. I'm a big believer in that tech, but it wasn't like a day-to-day transformation. It's not like I went to the coffee shop and everyone was starting to take, Bitcoin or had a new way to live. And I mean, in some countries, yes, with hyperinflation, but like here in Canada or even through in North America, it didn't really change the way that we lived, right? It was a lot of it was theory for now, and it was a future that we were looking towards. With AI, I mean, look in the last, ChatGPT came out not even a year ago. 8-9 months ago, and we already see it. Workers today, I mean, top tech companies, throw in the chat if you're already using it. People are using it to help and increase productivity at work. If you need to come up with a general template for a 6-part email series about a new product that you have coming out, and you're kind of having writer's block, throw it into ChatGPT, get out a template, and then use that to work off of, right?
Exactly.
And it's changing the way that we're actually utilizing our human capital at work. I think that's fundamentally the difference between what we're seeing with something like cryptocurrency or the .com bubble. It's not theoretical, and it's only been out for 6 months, and we're actually using it, and it's actually increasing productivity today. All of the productivity losses that we had, I believe, from COVID, and let's throw in remote work and just lowering the productivity as a whole. And this is not a slander against remote work or at all at any point, but it's hard to argue that it didn't decrease productivity at some level. Everything that we're seeing there, I think, is made up and then some in the next few years with AI and it enabling the way that we work. So when we talk about Dojo, when we talk about Tesla focusing on it, Tesla's primary focus with Dojo is the scalability of neural nets and the scalability of machine learning, and for the ability for any company, let's say in 5 or 10 years, to be able to rent a piece of a piece of Dojo and then use that to train on their own network. So it's early days, it's early innings, and people don't like OpenAI. Elon even hates OpenAI at some degree, but I think it's fundamentally changing the way that we're operating today.
Okay, yeah. So I very much agree with, and I think we need to hammer this point home. Another point I want to mention is that the inflation war, previous inflation wars, the market came back to its the S&P market within 4 months. So this is what people are saying at this point, that this is what we're seeing. But now this AI boom, like you said, it's a productivity boost for every company, every single company, and they're using it now. They're all using it now. Every employee is using it so much. So I do think this is going to be another massive boom, like a real stock market boom for a long period of time. Usually when there's a boom, it's always preceded by technology invention or something that happened. And then everybody became much more productive. And this is why you see a 10-year boom usually, and maybe a two-year or maybe 4-year recession. So I'm bullish. The question is, like you said, there's always going to be pullbacks, right? So let me just finish off this, the rest of this video, and then we can continue this conversation.
There's the private markets where AI unicorns are being minted faster.
Oh, what's going on?
Than you can say bubble. So is an AI bubble forming? Where are we in the relative hype cycle for transformational technologies? Some analysts say not for now. If you look at the price to earnings multiple for the NASDAQ 100, it is nowhere close to the peaks that we saw during the .com bubble, which ran up as high as 60 times forward earnings in March of 2000. Today, the forward P of the NASDAQ 100 is closer to 26 times.
You saw price earnings ratios. When you take out the 5 biggest stocks from the NASDAQ 100 in 1999-2000, the PE was 3,666. And of the nearly 500 companies that went public in 1999, 77% had no profits. It was a wildly different environment.
Even big name stocks like Cisco and Qualcomm. In March of 2000, Cisco had a PE of 150, Qualcomm 167, and Yahoo at an unsustainable 600.
Woohoo! I thought she said Yashu, but she said Yahoo. A PE ratio of 650. I mean, I'm telling you, the PE ratios are crazy about at that time. We're here all going, Tesla's properly valued at a 50 PE ratio. And I'm like freaking out when people like, you don't understand. You have to put in the growth. If next year it goes 50%, if 50 PE ratio goes to 25, the next year it goes 50%, it goes to 15. Of course, this is why it's not ridiculous. I don't know if you saw this video I did where I interviewed Andrea James, and I released it on Sunday. Andrea was the very first Wall Street analyst who gave Tesla a bull rating in way back in 2013, 12. And at the time, the short was telling her, "Are you crazy? Tesla's PE ratio is 1,100 times." And she goes, "Yeah." Now at the time it's different because it was a monetary easing. There was lots of money everywhere, so it's very different than it is today. I'm not saying that that's appropriate to compare that, but wow, that now those were they were not based on any earnings, like you said. It was just all hype. Here you saw that it's really Nvidia's jump was because of projected earnings. This is real money flowing into the company.
And that's not to say that you're not going to get these fluffy companies, because you will. I mean, the amount of I was at an AI conference last week, and the CEO of Hootsuite was speaking at it, and she was going through a slide, and there was a machine learning AI product manager from Google as well speaking at this panel, and they showed this slide of just the hundreds of millions of dollars of funding in the last half a year that all these companies on the backs of AI have gotten. And obviously, like just the skeptical side of me is like, well, okay, how many of these companies are even going to exist in the next 2 or 3 years? But let's not let the hype and the puffery let us lose focus from what is the core and the crux of this, right? I mean, of course, every single, let's call it, every single radical change of technology in the world will have this sort of fat and fluff around it. But the focus, like you said, NVIDIA saying, look, we are padding up our profits. We're going from 7 billion to 11 billion in revenue because of this. And we look at ChatGPT, obviously, but I'll bring it to a micro level. I have YouTube clips. I throw it into an AI clipper, and it essentially takes, guys, this is nuts. It takes my 30 to 60 minute video. Doesn't matter how long it is. It finds the best clips. It clips them together into 60-second clips, and then it captions it, gives me a title, and I get to choose whether or not I want to post it within one click. Something that probably takes an editor a couple hours to do, put it together, think of an idea. It can transcribe the whole thing so it knows. It can obviously use AI to figure out what's a good theme here for a clip. And essentially, it does all the work for me in 15 minutes. I come in, I select a couple clips, and I post them. It is crazy. And we talk about deflation. That is right there is a deflationary, or I guess I should say disinflationary mode of work right there that we're seeing, cutting out people from posting clips and editing and graphic design and stuff like that. So I'm really excited. And I think Tesla, if all Tesla did was this, if they said, hey, this Dojo project, we're actually not going to cannibalize all the demand here. We're going to actually start renting all of this out and monetizing this from day one. And we don't care about using any of this ourselves. Well, I think the market would go crazy over that. They would essentially go, this is nuts. This is a huge new revenue pool for Tesla. What does this mean for margins? And they would go crazy over it. But because Tesla is internally using all of the demand that they get from these Dojo supercomputers, the market is kind of turning a blind eye to this right now until they solve FSD. So I think it's a huge sleeper. It's still far from there. I mean, the whole point is scalability. But it's really, really cool to see that we can spend a whole episode talking about Tesla AI, and a whole episode talking about Tesla energy, and a whole episode talking about Tesla auto. It's just crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. Okay.